This was 10 days ago. Is this really worth watching? Just to get triggered on some Asmon slop?
Vice President J.D. Vance.
All right. Did he give the speech? I haven't heard it.
Well, thank you, and thanks to all the gathered delegates and luminaries and media professionals, and thanks especially to the host of the Munich Security Conference for being able to put on such an incredible event. We're, of course, thrilled to be here. We're happy to be here. And, you know, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is, of course, our shared values. And, you know, it's great to be back in Germany. As you heard earlier, I was here last year as United States Senator. I saw Foreign Secretary David Lammy, and joked that both of us last year had different jobs than we have now. But now it's time for all of our countries, for all of us who have been fortunate enough to be given political power by our respective peoples, to use it wisely to improve their lives. And I want to say that, you know, I was fortunate in my time here to spend some time outside the walls of this conference over the last 24 hours, and I've been so impressed by the hospitality of the people, even, of course, as they're reeling from yesterday's horrendous attack. And the first time
they had a crazy guy drove a truck into, I think it was like 18 people, 30-something people, I'm not really sure exactly, and he was a migrant who had been told to leave, but they didn't get rid of him, and then he killed a kid. I don't know if other people died in the process. 28, yeah, the numbers were uncertain yesterday.
I was ever in Munich was with my wife, actually, who's here with me today, on a personal trip. And I've always loved the city of Munich, and I've always loved its people. And I just want to say that
someone said those are like 3 incidents mashed together. I don't even know what the particular one he's talking about is.
Very moved, and our thoughts and prayers are with Munich and everybody affected by the evil inflicted on this beautiful community. We're thinking about you, we're praying for you, and we will certainly be rooting for you in the days and weeks to come. Now, I hope that's not the last bit of applause that I get, but...
Prophetic. Wait, what? Wait, do you have a reason why there are all these double standards, though? I hear you bring it up all the time. Why don't conservatives have to XYZ? I agree it's toxic, but what's the why? I think the why is that conservatives have decided more than liberals that they're willing to break with norms and just engage in behavior that is beneath the mediums, I would argue, and the decorum that they're supposed to have. And since they decided to break those rules first, a prisoner's dilemma, if one side's willing to break the rules and the other doesn't, they're the ones with everything to gain. I would argue that things like the Dominion case are a huge example of that. Things like J6 are a huge example of that. The different treatment between like Al Franken and Matt Gaetz is an example of that, or Donald Trump or anybody else, yeah.
We gather at this conference, of course, to discuss security, and normally we mean threats to our external security. I see many great military leaders gathered here today. But while the Trump administration is very concerned with European security and believes that we can come to a reasonable settlement between Russia and Ukraine, and we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense, the threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values shared.
See, like this, I feel like if I would have this argument 2 years ago, I probably did have this argument 2 years ago. And it's like, what are the big problems that Europe is facing? Well, energy independence from Russia, general unhappiness and Euro skepticism, or EU skepticism, perhaps some economic trouble with the way the banking is done with the Eurozone, I guess, as seen with Greece, Syrian refugee crisis, pending war with Russia. And then it's like, no. Actually, the big problem with Europe is their lack of free speech. Did you hear that they arrest people sometimes in the country of Europe when people say bad words online? Like the response, okay, that's a great Twitter talking point, but like, let's go to the, let's look at the actual problems, right? But here we are.
With the United States of America.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Bro, he went there just to talk shit about him. I think he's right, by the way. Completely agree with him.
Of course.
Now, I was struck that a former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election.
Wow.
He warned that if things don't go to plan...
Asmon's like, this is the first time I'm hearing about this, really?
The very same thing could happen in Germany, too. Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we find...
They annulled an election? That seems a little bit,
Support is in the
Wow.
name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to
Canceling elections does not seem democratic. I'll say it. It doesn't.
So fucking epic.
cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values, we must live them. Now, within living memory of many of you in this room, the Cold War positioned defenders of democracy against much more tyrannical forces on this continent. And consider the side in that fight that censored dissidents, that closed churches, that canceled elections. Were they the good guys? Certainly not. And thank God
Nope. Yeah.
they lost the Cold War. They lost because they neither valued nor respected all of the extraordinary blessings of liberty. The freedom.
I think that they lost because they had to censor things. If you have to censor stuff, you've already lost the ideological battle. You've already lost. The fact that you're censoring it is your acknowledgement that you've lost. Like, you know.
Explain. Okay. I asked Andrew this, and every conservative gives the same response. How do you feel? This is just it's such an easy thing, right? How do you feel about the fact that Donald Trump is suing a pollster because he doesn't like what the pollster said? How do you explain that lawsuit? And how does that not have the largest chilling effect ever on every single pollster in the United States of America? We have never, ever seen such a blatant and egregious weaponization of the DOJ as it exists right now in 1 month under Bondi, Bovee, and Trump. Like
if there's that's it.
To surprise, to make mistakes, to invent, to build. As it turns out, you can't mandate innovation or creativity, just as you can't force people what to think, what to feel, or what to believe. And we believe those things are certainly connected. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest. To shut down social winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest.
Bro, this is like the first 5 minutes of V for Vendetta.
Like, he's just not even thinking about, he doesn't know anything about what's being said. The EU commissioner, the entire European Union is going to shut down social media in times of civil, like, that should set off the biggest, but wait, well, hold on. There must have been a lot more qualifiers to that statement, because on its face, that's obviously a fucking insane statement, right? Did the EU commissioner really say the entire European Union is going to shut down all social media for civil unrest? Truly? Really?
How the fuck does this happen? How are people putting up with that over there? That's insane. Can you invade us, please? I don't know. No, that's too much money. You have no choice? Why are people voting for this shit?
The moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this
So the government decides what's hateful or not, and whenever they make that decision, they decide to censor you arbitrarily.
The government... It's just he's not even speaking, like, the sentences don't even make sense. So the government okay, let's just take the second part of that. So the government decides what's hateful, and then based on that, they censor you arbitrarily. Well, that's not arbitrary, is it? If they decide a category of stuff that's banned and then they ban you for it, that's not, by definition, that's not arbitrary. They're doing it in adherence to the category of banned stuff. How do you say that's arbitrary? So the sentence doesn't even make sense. But then he says, so the government decides what's hateful. Yeah, if you're talking about like a law or a regulation from the government, who else besides the government would make this decision? These are all democracies. He just said, who's voting for this? They're democracies. The people are voting for it. If they don't like it, they can vote for somebody else.
So the government decides what's hateful or not, and whenever they make that decision, they decide to censor you arbitrarily. And people in Europe are okay with this? Man. Y'all need to throw some tea into the water or some shit. Like, you can't let this happen. Yeah, bro, you're gonna let these clowns boss you around. No, we're not? Well, then organize and get rid of them. Yeah, the people have no say. I don't know about that.
Country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet.
Bro, this guy just brought up Gamergate. I love it. Oh my fucking God. Yeah, no guns? I don't even think that it's guns. Like, I mean, Trump didn't win in 2024 because of guns. Like, nobody had to shoot anybody. If anything, I mean, I feel like we're down one, right? Because like they shot a Trump supporter in January 6th. So, I mean, you know, I feel like the deep state is +1. But the fact
I thought he was at least going to go with the Trump assassination attempt. He really went with the J6 example.
is that, like, yeah, I think I mean, y'all have elections though, right? Like in Europe, you have elections. No? They're rigged. I don't know what to believe. I really don't.
A day of action. I looked to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Quran burnings that
Are there no laws regulating hate speech in the U.S. at all? No, we don't really have hate speech laws over here.
resulted in his friend's murder.
There's no way that's true.
Wait, what is? Hold on.
Weeks ago, the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Quran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder.
There's no way that's true, right?
He says as he doesn't research any of it, and all of chat says, it's true, it's true, true. Oh, look, there they are. It's true, it's true. And then he's going to say, that's correct. And then he's going to go on talking about it as though it is 100% true. Yeah.
There's no way, right? Oh, my God. I'm going to tell you what the outcome of this is going to be.
Thank you.
Eventually, one of these countries is going to get so fed up, they're going to...
What's he going to say? I don't even know if I can predict it. They're going to get so fed up that they're going to break from the entire European Union and kick everybody out. And where's the next? I don't even know where he's going with this.
elect somebody like Adolf Hitler again.
Oh, okay. My bad. Or that. Okay.
And then when they do, we're going to have another fucking world problem. There's going to be a world level crisis because it's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Okay. My bad.
I feel like it's inevitable, right? I mean, am I fucking crazy?
And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass.
I'm not sure that's entirely true re hate speech, but I'm probably being pedantic. For example, I think crimes done while uttering the F slur, N-word, etc. carry a heavier penalty than if not. Yes, that's why I said we don't, I think, didn't I say essentially, or we don't really have, I think I said we don't really have hate crimes. In the United States, there's not really like a hate speech law or anything like that. But I think, I don't know if it's just on all protected classes. If there's like, if these are invoked in the commission of another crime, then I think these are considered an aggravating factor and they can make your sentencing harsher. There are bigger penalties. So if I kill a dude or if I beat the shit out of a guy, there's a penalty for that. But if I beat the shit out of a guy and I call him the N-word, then there can be a penalty plus the, I think it's considered an aggravating factor, right? Somebody, you know, that means the sentencing is going to be worse.
Pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief.
I am so glad to be an American. Like, this is insane. Oh my God. That's so dumb. Yeah. What he said is true. Sweden is currently cooked. This is awful.
And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom,
Oh, no.
where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes.
Wow.
Dude, like, I feel like people would be spamming if these things weren't true, right? Like, I would have probably seen it if it wasn't true. Because, like, I'm the kind of person, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. These are extraordinary claims. This is outrageous.
So, oh, well, it's a 36-minute video. How long is he actually going to go look it up then and figure out what actually happened in any of these, or? Late question. Cousin transitioned male to female. We were adults. When recalling the past, how should I refer to her? For nature versus nurture question earlier, we knew instantly, but thought they would be gay. I don't know, probably just refer to her as a woman as much as you can. But I mean, like, if you fuck up and they hate you, then just don't talk to them because they're fucking cringe. Easy.
You have no idea how bad it really is? Oh my God. People just ignore the evidence? Why? we can't do anything? So is Europe just kind of like cooked?
Not obstructing anyone.
I'm going to self-harm psychically so much right now. This might be worse research than Hassan. Hassan at least has all of his pre-agreement tweets pulled up. Asmongold literally just divines it from his chat. What the fuck?
Not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. After British
that guy was told for hours that he needed to leave, by the way. Like, he was... What did they say? We read that article. The cops stood there and spoke with him for like an hour and 45 minutes to leave.
Law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for. Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion.
Does he even know what the law was for? Was he even processing the last part of that?
The government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision.
He's just focusing on the silent prayer thing, and now he's going to laugh like a retarded fuck. Oh my God.
Within 200 meters of an abortion.
Silent prayer? If I close my eyes, is somebody going to arrest me? Because I think I'm praying?
What a shithole. Oh my God. You know, I used to criticize like places like Saudi Arabia and Dubai. But I mean, I don't really see, there's not like a huge difference here, I feel like. What the fuck?
Facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution.
Like if you would ask him, wait, what was that law for, Asmongold? He wouldn't even know. He'd have no idea. But it's all part of the show, I guess.
Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single
Something
person.
unfair. Our current government in the UK has literally ignored grooming games out of fear of being called racist. It's absolutely disgraceful. There's no way it's that bad, right? Like, because the thing is, like, that's why I haven't gone hard on this, is because it's just so ridiculous. I can't even acknowledge that it's real.
Easy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally,
Wow.
the government...
As someone out of the loop, what was the law? I don't know the details of the law, but based on how Vance described it, it sounds similar to the American laws, and that in some states you're just not allowed to protest within a certain distance from an abortion clinic. Because what will happen is religious people will hold like vigils outside of abortion clinics, and basically if you go to get an abortion, they make you feel like shit on your way there. And it sounded like that British law is probably the same, even based on just how Vance explained it.
The government urged readers to report any fellow citizen suspected guilty of thought crime. And
Just see.
What was that?
Wow.
the government urged readers to report any fellow citizen suspected guilty of thought crime. And
just so you guys know, George Orwell was in, I think, Spain or something like that in 1936. He didn't go over to America and then write 1984. He was in Europe and he wrote it. No, he wrote 1984 in 1948 or 49. The book came out, and it was written, and part of it was informed in his experiences when he was in Spain in 1936. Somewhere around there. I could be off by a couple of years.
Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. And in the interest of comedy, my friends, but also in the interest of truth.
I wouldn't even say it's retreat, it's repression.
True.
Yeah, like, it's crazy. Like, I wonder what a person is like that's defending this stuff. It's crazy. It's hard to believe because you've been enjoying your life, not troubling yourself with this bullcrap. This stuff's been going on for a long time. Cancel culture in the EU is way worse than in the US. How would they actually enforce that?
I don't even like to debase yourself to act like Asman or Hassan, but it does seem to reach a lot of people and sway elections. Does that make it worth a try? I have no interest in doing it. Other people can do it. And other people are probably better at it than me. I don't enjoy doing this, like the style of content that he's doing.
Well, who cares whether you can enforce it or not? If the law is on the books and the law is bullshit, then you've got a problem, don't you?
I will admit that sometimes the loudest voices for censorship have come not from within Europe, but from within my own country, where the prior administration threatened and bullied social media companies to censor so-called misinformation. Misinformation like, for example, the idea that...
Remember, the FBI giving recommendations to Twitter on stuff around COVID and everything, that counted as censorship. Even though, I'll repeat it for the billionth time, the Twitter files showed none. That did not come from any part of the Twitter files ever. And if anybody says it, tell them, oh, link me where? Show me. Show me where the censorship was on Twitter. No. Don't give me a story about it or a Charlie Kirk impression of it. Link me in the Twitter files. They're all public. They're on Twitter. Link me where that suppression was and that censorship from the FBI, that censorship from the Biden administration. Show me. I want to know. But again, Donald Trump suing pollsters because he doesn't like their polls, that doesn't count as censorship or misinformation?
Leads social media companies to censor so-called misinformation. Misinformation like, for example, the idea that coronavirus had likely leaked from a laboratory in China. Our own government encouraged private companies to silence people who dared to utter what turned out to be an obvious truth. So I come here today not just with an observation.
I always find it very problematic when, like, we can always question, like, 9/11, the Gulf of Tonkin, Pearl Harbor, all these other events, the JFK assassination, but you can't ask any questions about COVID back then. That's very interesting.
But
Whoops. He says, as Joe Rogan was like literally the most popular podcast throughout, like grew the most, and like, yeah, definitely. I do remember the, what was that? Joe Rogan did get super fucked though by some censorship. What was that censorship thing? Oh my God, this was horrible. This is almost as bad as when Benny Johnson and Tim Pool and Dave Rubin were victims of that horrible $10 million Russian cash infusion. Oof. Damn. Just.
With an offer. Just as the Biden administration seemed desperate to silence people for speaking their minds, so the Trump administration will do precisely the opposite, and I hope that we can work together on that. In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town. And under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree. In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town. And under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree.
Show me one example of them fighting for any contrary viewpoint ever. It's just a fucking lie. Also, fuck Europe, and fuck all of you losers over in Europe. This guy was in your continent for how long? In a video game.
Not so many claps that time. Oh, he didn't like that at all. Yeah, and then 3 people clapped.
Now, we're at the point, of course, that the situation has gotten so bad that this December, Romania straight up canceled the results of a presidential election.
Straight up
based
canceled.
on the flimsy suspicions of an intelligence agency and enormous pressure from its continental neighbors. Now, as I understand it, the argument was that Russian disinformation had infected the Romanian elections. But I'd ask my European friends to have some perspective. You can believe it's wrong for Russia to buy social media advertisements to...
Would you talk with Asmongold? Yeah, of course, but he never will. I've said this for like over a year, yes.
European friends to have some perspective. You can believe it's wrong for Russia to buy social media advertisements to influence your elections. We certainly do. You can condemn it on the world stage even. But if your democracy can be destroyed with a few $100,000 of digital advertising from a foreign country, then it wasn't very strong to begin with.
I love this fucking guy, man.
Yeah, I like how he's giggling. Keep in mind that wasn't this basically the Trump claim for a while too, that somehow, or I guess it wasn't a few $100,000, it was illegal immigrants were stealing the election, or the feds were stealing the election, or Dominion stole the election, or the ghost of Hugo Chavez stole the election, or, but I mean, okay.
Really do. This is amazing. Holy shit. But yes, it's so fucking true. Absolutely. He's up there roasting him. And I love how he'll pause for applause. Oh God. This is insane. Yeah.
Now, the good news is that I happen to think your democracies are substantially less brittle than many people apparently fear. And I really do believe that allowing our citizens to speak their mind will make them stronger still. Which, of course, brings us back to Munich, where the organizers of this very conference have banned lawmakers representing populist parties on both the left and the right from participating in these conversations.
What?
Now,
wait, what?
True. What does that mean? Is that even true? Or did he just totally fucking make that up?
and I really do believe that allowing our citizens to speak their mind will make them stronger still. Which, of course, brings us back to Munich, where the organizers of this very conference have banned lawmakers representing populist parties on both the left and the right from participating in these conversations. Now,
what? So some parties are just not allowed?
That seems like it's probably not true, huh?
Oh my God. This is insane. So he's even calling out the event organizers at the, yeah, absolutely. They're trying to ban AFD. In Germany, it's the...
Is this true? No, I think the claim, I'd have to dig more into this, but I think the claim is that Americans say the AFD, because we don't know anything about political parties or parliamentary systems or literally anything at all, actually, because Americans are literally just fucking shit for brains. But a lot of Americans have been convinced that the AFD is being illegally censored in Germany or some bullshit. But I'm pretty sure what's actually happening is just the other parties said that they're never going to form a government with the AFD. Because I think the AFD is like founded literally in the remnants of the... Fuck, what was the last party before? It was literally like the fucking swastika. The NPD? Is that it? In the grave of the NPD, I think a lot of people went over it. Now the AFD is just like a collection for every kind of super right weirdo in Germany. But other parties in Germany said, we're not going to form a coalition with you. We're not forming a government with you. And now for Americans are like, oh my God, they're censoring them?
The AFD. Because anything not left is Nazi. Holy shit.
Now, again, we don't have to agree with everything or anything that people say. But when people represent, when political leaders represent an important constituency, it is incumbent upon us to at least participate in dialogue with them.
I think he's completely right. How do you think that, how do you think that it's a good idea to just simply go and kick anybody out who disagrees with you? I don't understand that at all. They're shitty indeed. AFD is pretty dumb, though. Well, if they're so dumb, then have them go up there and talk, and then you'll prove them that they're stupid. If somebody's so fucking stupid, then just go ahead and let them talk.
They did, and they didn't win their elections as much as they needed to be part of a government, so...
That's it.
Now, to many of us on the other side of the Atlantic, it looks more and more like old...
Hey, Stephen, the little dictator president took the rare with bait from Zelensky and EU. We have more energy and materials funded by U.S. textiles here in EU. Cool.
Old entrenched interests, hiding behind ugly Soviet-era words like misinformation and disinformation, who simply don't like the idea that somebody with an alternative viewpoint might express a different opinion, or, God forbid, vote a different way, or, even worse, win an election.
Yep.
Now, this is a security conference, and I'm sure you all came here prepared to talk about how exactly you intend to increase defense spending over the next few years in line with some new target.
Nope.
And that's great, because as President Trump has made abundantly clear, he believes that our European friends must play a bigger role in the future of this continent.
Yeah, of course.
We don't think, you hear this term, burden sharing, but we think it's an important part of being in a shared alliance together that the Europeans step up while America focuses on areas of the world that are in great danger.
Sure.
But let me also ask you, how will you even begin to think through the kinds of budgeting questions if we don't know what it is that we are defending in the first place? I've heard a lot already in my conversations, and I've had many, many great conversations with many people gathered here in this room. I've heard a lot about what you need to defend yourselves from, and of course that's important. But what has seemed a little bit less clear to me, and certainly I think to many of the citizens of Europe, is what exactly it is that you're defending yourselves for. What is the positive vision that animates this shared security compact that we all believe is so important? And I believe deeply that there is no security if you are afraid of the voices, the opinions, and the conscience that guide your very own people.
Man. Man. This is the best VP ever? Bro, it's actually crazy. This was the biggest comeback I've probably ever seen. A smart politician, holy fuck. Yeah, this guy is good, man. He's dissing the entire EU government from the stage. Yeah, and they have to sit in the audience. This man is the next president. I mean, I'll tell you, I would vote for him for sure. I like him a lot. I think he's great.
Europe faces many challenges, but the crisis this continent faces right now, the crisis I believe we all face together, is one of our own making. If you're running in fear of your own voters, there is nothing America can do for you. Nor, for that matter, is there anything that you can do for the American people who elected me and elected President Trump.
Here's what should happen. Euro cucks. Listen to me, you cuck fucks. This is what should happen, okay? There should be a, a precept. If you come to one of these conferences, you have to agree in, the results of your last 5 elections or something. That should be unless there's, proof that they were stolen. This guy should not be allowed to lecture anybody on anything having to do with democracy when you don't even acknowledge the results of the 2020 election. You shouldn't even be allowed. You should be disinvited. I'm pretty sure that's why the AFD and the other party were... for this particular conference didn't come is because they didn't or weren't invited. I think is because they disagreed with whatever the ideas of the conference were held on. That should just be a requirement. Did a single Trump cabinet pick agree with the results of the 2021 election or with the 2020 election? Did any of them, or did every single one refuse to acknowledge Trump's loss?
You need democratic mandates to accomplish anything of value in the coming years. Have we learned nothing? That thin mandates produce unstable results. But there is so much of value that can be accomplished with the kind of democratic mandate that I think will come from being more responsive to the voices of your citizens.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that people are being suppressed. And he's ranking the U.S. looking at it from our perspective. America will stand alone in 4 years. Really? Because like, I bet there's a lot of people in Europe that listen to this and they agree. And I feel like the more, you know, truck drivers that go in the crowds that happen, like I feel like the only reason why people in Europe wouldn't agree on this is because Europe has tried to carefully construct a media apparatus that actively deceives people of what's really happening.
Oh my God. Oh, that feel when an American talks about anything outside of his fucking cheeseburger factory. The European media apparatus. Kill me.
Europe has tried, like, I feel like the only reason why people in Europe wouldn't agree on this is because Europe has tried to carefully construct a media.
Also, think about the world that he said. It's so funny. One of the reasons why I like Asmongold, I can't tell if it's because he's so stupid or he's so malicious. The thing that I like the most about Asmongold is usually with conservatives, they're like 80% of the way to like the crazy positions. And I kind of have to illustrate. When they say constitutional, they mean break the law. When they say popular mandate, they mean literally authoritarianism. The president can act alone because he got the popular vote. That's what they mean. But Asmongold will just come out and say the thing. He'll just say exactly the thing, right? Listen to what Asmongold is saying here. There are two types of people in Europe. We'll back up a little. This is it's informative. There are two types of people in Europe. Probably a lot of people that agree with me. And then the second category are people who have been brainwashed by the European media apparatus. That's it. There's just two types of people. You either agree with me or you've been brainwashed by the European media apparatus. That's it.
Mandates produce unstable results, but there is so much of value that can be accomplished with the kind of democratic mandate that I think will come from being more responsive to the voices of your citizens.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that people are being suppressed. And he's ranking the U.S. looking at it from our perspective. America will stand alone in 4 years. Really? Because like, I bet there's a lot of people in Europe that listen to this and they agree.
Yeah.
And I feel like the more, you know, truck drivers that go in the crowds that happen, like I feel like the only reason why people in Europe wouldn't agree on this is because Europe has tried to carefully construct a media apparatus that actively deceives people of what's really happening. I feel like that's the only case and the only explanation for why something like this would happen. Bullshit? Well, it's not though, right? Because like they don't report a lot of these things. They report them in misleading ways.
An American, imagine a cheeseburger. Imagine a cheeseburger trying to claim that European media is biased. Meanwhile, what is your main source of information? Joe Rogan, Charlie Kirk, Twitter, Joe Rogan.
They don't report on whether somebody is a migrant or not. Somebody who's trying to push a narrative like that and talk about it gets arrested. I mean, I don't know. I've seen all of Europe. Well, no, that's a great point. That's a great point. All of the places in Europe don't do all of these things, but there's enough of them to where there's a problem.
Okay.
The immigrants are American haters and they're going to take over the whole Europe within a few years. I don't know. It just, I mean, like from my perspective, it seems like Europe, like this is me, like as an American, what the fuck do I know, right? And you know, I'm sure it's Europeans that are like, oh, America is like this or that, and I'm like, that's stupid.
True. YouTube chatter, one fee. You know where all of this authoritarianism came from? You know what started? You know what started all of this? Wait, how do I get over that monitor? Ugh. 6 years ago, it was this goddamn ad.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity.
No.
Is this the best a man can get?
That's where it all went wrong.
Is it?
Conservatives saw that they couldn't handle
We
it.
can't hide from it.
Not the toxic masculinity. No.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
But she says it's
And there will be no going back. Because we...
Damn. Wait. This guy's got some wild sideburns. Wait. No, this must just be the overhead light. Are there like 3 redheads right in a row here? Does that guy have red hair? These guys don't, do they? It must just be the lights. It's an abnormal... That'd be an abnormal amount of redheads.
And there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Smile, sweetie. Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
The meme!
Not cool.
Some already are. In ways big
Yo, men.
and small.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
Is that how we treat each other?
This was like conservative 9/11, dude.
Okay.
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
Jesus. It was all downhill from here, guys. Yep, it was this ad and Anita Sarkeesian turned a whole generation of gamers into brown shirts. Just kidding, but not really.
So if you're European, you think that that's fine. I feel like Europe is like massively fucking censored. And I think the government is like totally pushing this. And I don't even understand like what they're in.
What is the government? The government of Europe? The European Commission has the ability to censor all the European countries' medias?
That's stupid. So if you're European, you think that that's fine. I feel like Europe is like massively fucking censored. And I think the government is like totally pushing this. And I don't even understand like what their end game is behind it.
If you're going to enjoy competitive economies, if you're
It's
going
like, in my opinion, I feel like if you can't have free expression and the free marketplace of ideas, you can't have anything. You can't build off of anything. You can't plan anything. You can't base anything off of reality at all. So like if you don't have that, you don't have anything. And I can't see another way around that, especially whenever they use like terms that are so loose and they just apply it to people that they disagree with.
That ad is unironically better than the current way the left deals with red pillars. Maybe. I don't actually think it was that cringe of an ad. I think the biggest issue with that ad was just that it was the meme part. It was just a little bit too much wokeness. We can only handle, as men, we can only handle so much wokeness in a given ad. First of all, fuck this. It didn't need to be a woman here. This was a mistake. Actually, it should have just been all men here. Because the ad is supposed to be about men holding men accountable, right? So why would you show a woman here? You're kind of fucking it up, I think. But then,
The right way.
if they would have just reversed the races on this, I think that conservatives would have been like 57% better with the ad. How dare this black man restricts my primal white urge. If they would have just race swapped it, I think conservatives would be like, yeah, okay, yeah, we get it. I understand now. Black guy catcalling an innocent white lady? Yeah, okay, I get it. But they fucked up on the casting on this one. Why the fuck does he even know about this? Has Asmon put even a single ounce of research into any of these incredibly bold, strong claims? No, he doesn't even know what the European Union is. He wouldn't be able to describe it.
Incredibly uninformed. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he gave a lot of examples, and I don't think that you would agree with those examples, right? I mean,
the reason Asmongold keeps saying Europe doesn't have free speech is stuff like it being against the law to deny the Holocaust in Germany, etc. Sure, but there's two parts to it, unfortunately. One is that cheeseburgers don't know the laws of any European countries. But two, cheeseburgers don't even understand their own First Amendment, okay? We do not have unlimited freedom of speech in the United States of America. You could easily imagine a world where you have a country that recognizes like half the tort that the United States recognizes in civil court. Like, and so let's say, for instance, it was illegal to sue somebody for defamation, or there was no cause of action for defamation. You can't sue somebody for defaming somebody, right? That country could then look at the US and go, wow, you guys get sued by people because you say something that might be incorrect. Nice freedom of speech there, buddy. Wow, that's some great freedom of speech, right? Or you guys sue people who are, if kids want to post porn of themselves? Oh, wow, nice freedom of speech there. So a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old are so much different? Okay, America. Okay, cheeseburgers, right? There's a million different things. Oh, you guys made it illegal to spam people? Wow, on the cell phone? Oh, okay. So text messaging is illegal now if I want to advertise a company? Okay, wow, a lot of freedom of speech. You can't advertise these things on your TV channels. You can't say the F word on public broadcast networks. Wow, obscenity isn't even protected. I don't even have First Amendment rights to protect obscene speech. Seriously? Which you don't, by the way. It's just stupid. Like, cheeseburgers don't even understand, they don't even understand their own First Amendment protections. They think that America has unlimited freedom of speech. That's not true. There's tons of ways that freedom of speech is curbed in the United States in a billion different examples. But just...
unless maybe they didn't happen. Maybe he's all lying. There are 30 governments. What are you talking about? Yeah, I know. Obviously, like, every government isn't the same. I'm saying the ones that are doing it are bad.
I just want to kill myself. This is self-harm.
There are 30 governments. What are you talking about? Yeah, I know. Obviously, like, every government isn't the same. I'm saying the ones that are doing it are bad. Yeah, of course. I mean, logically, of course, that's what I would be saying.
Which ones?
To enjoy affordable energy and secure supply chains. Then you need mandates to govern, because you have to make difficult choices to enjoy all of these things. And of course, we know that very well in America. You cannot win a democratic mandate by censoring your opponents or putting them in jail.
Yeah,
whether that's the leader of the opposition, a humble Christian praying in her own home, or a journalist trying to report the news.
Yeah.
Nor can you win one by disregarding your basic electorate on questions like who gets to be a part of our shared society. And of all the pressing challenges that the nations represented here face, I believe there is nothing more urgent than mass migration.
Wait, I don't know if this is a real tweet or not. There is a battalion of male to female transgenders within the American intelligence apparatus. They hate Italians and libs of TikTok. They fantasize about pseudo-vaginas and butthole lasers. They are in charge of the most sophisticated spying machine in human history. This is a troll, right? I don't know what I just read. I've seen things in the NSA chat logs that cannot be unseen. Oh no, this is a troll. He's trolling. This guy's trolling. Okay. He's trolling. This guy's trolling, I think.
Today.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. He went there. Yep. Oh, geez.
Today.
I like how a cheeseburger will step into a room and be like, wow, finally the Americans are here to talk about mass migration, because we all know that every fucking country in the European Union and all of Europe hasn't been talking about immigration issues for the last like 13 years, right? No, it takes a cheeseburger to come into the room and finally speak some sense, okay? It's not like these have been dominating every European country's news cycle for over a decade. No, it needs to be the Ameritards that come in and finally bring some logic to this discussion.
Went there, yep. Oh, geez.
Today, almost 1 in 5 people living in this country moved here from abroad. That is, of course, an all-time high. It's a similar number, by the way, in the United States, also an all-time high. The number of immigrants who entered the EU from non-EU countries doubled between 2021 and 2022 alone.
Wait, sorry, hold on. Now we know what they did last week. Wait, what happened last week? Disturbing. Federal employees at NSA, CIA, and DIA caught engaging in a secret sex chat room in which they openly discussed genital castration, artificial vaginas, sexual fetishes, and gangbangs, all while they were on the clock and being paid by U.S. taxpayers. Are we not allowed to text on the job now? What even is that? Hey, by the way, Asmongold is probably going to be retweeting this. Excuse me, what about our freedom of speech? Is it illegal to have chats on the clock? What is it, like you're owned by the fucking machine for the 8 hours you're in the office? Does Elon think that not a single one of his employees on the clock is participating in some other Slack or some other Discord or chat room or whatever?
What the fuck? Holy shit.
And of course, it's gotten much higher. Doubled between 2021 and 2022 alone.
It's so funny because if this was Anita Sarkeesian saying like the amount of sexual harassment that women have received in video games doubled in these 2 years, he'd be like, wrong, no, show me I need a Lancet funded study and I need to do independent research on every single one of the publishers, every single one of the research to make sure there's not a conflict of interest. I need to see their entire Steam video game library to check for wokeness. But when Vance says literally anything that perfectly aligns with my worldview, my reaction, no way, what? What
the fuck? Holy shit.
And of course, it's gotten much higher since. And we know that alone.
Oh wait, did he say?
Who entered the EU from non-EU countries. It's a similar number, by the way, in the United States also.
Oh fuck, and he did the thing I told you guys. You have to keep an eye out for this one. Oh, it's just everything. He did the thing. Remember the thing?
All-time high.
Hold on.
The number of immigrants who entered the EU from non-EU countries doubled between 2021 and 2022 alone.
2021 to 2022? What was going on in 2021? Did immigration actually double illegally? Like it got so much worse? Or was it really low in 2021? I don't remember what happened. Maybe everybody was getting scared because they were anticipating the Russian invasion into Ukraine. Anybody that gives you data like that's encompasses less than 5 years and they include the COVID years is always up to some sneaky bullshit. Every single time you hear that, it's up to some sneaky bullshit. All the time.
What the fuck? Holy shit.
And of course, it's gotten much higher since. And we know the situation, it didn't materialize in a vacuum. It's the result of a series of conscious decisions made by politicians all over the continent and others across the world over the span of
Is it just Ukraine? Oh, if it's just Ukraine, then that would make sense. Yeah.
2021 to 2022. Okay.
We saw the horrors wrought by these decisions yesterday in this very city. And of course, I can't bring it up again without thinking about the terrible victims who had a beautiful winter day in Munich ruined. Our thoughts and prayers are with them and will remain with them. But why did this happen in the first place? It's a terrible story, but it's one we've heard way too many times in Europe and unfortunately too many times in the United States as well. An asylum seeker, often a young man in his mid-20s, already known to police.
Stop saying young man mid-20s and use the word you want to use, okay? Fighting age. Go back to, I liked it when they were a little bit more on the fighting aged males. That's what we used to call them back in 2013, 2014. They were fighting aged males coming from Syria.
Rams a car into a crowd and shatters a community.
Well, they told him to leave too, right? Like he had deportation orders or his asylum had been denied. And they just said, all right, well, there it is. Well, figure it out. His asylum had been, his asylum had been denied, but he had been allowed to stay?
How many times must we suffer these appalling setbacks before we change course and take our shared civilization in a new direction? No voter on this continent went to the ballot box to open the floodgates to millions of unvetted immigrants. But you know what they did vote for? In England, they voted for Brexit, and agree or disagree, they voted for it. And more all over Europe, they're voting for political leaders who promise to put an end to out-of-control migration. Now, I happen to agree with a lot of these concerns, but you don't have to agree with me. I just think that people care about their homes, they care about their dreams, they care about their safety and their capacity to provide for themselves and their children. And they're smart. I think this is one of the most important things I've learned in my brief time in politics. Contrary to what you might hear a couple mountains over in Davos, the citizens of all of our nations don't generally think of themselves as educated animals or as interchangeable cogs of a global economy.
No fucking...
No shot. He did the neo-Nazi talking point. Is Asmongold about to give credit to Sam Hyde? Is Asmongold about to say, JD Vance watched the same Sam Hyde video that I did? JD Vance knows who I am. He's not going to say that. I'm reading way too hard into this.
Fucking way. Bro. He watched Sam's video. That's the exact vocabulary Sam Hyde used.
I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm gonna kill myself. Hold on. I had a video game. I'm not killing myself. I'm going to the bathroom.
Oh my god. Yeah, he did? Yeah. Jesus.
And it's hardly surprising that they don't want to be shuffled about or relentlessly ignored by their leaders. And it is the business of democracy to adjudicate these big questions at the ballot box. I believe that dismissing people, dismissing their concerns, or worse yet, shutting down media, shutting down elections, or shutting people out of the political process protects nothing. In fact, it is the most surefire way to destroy democracy. And speaking up and expressing opinions isn't election interference, even when people express views outside your own country and even when those people are very influential. And trust me, I say this with all humor, if American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk. But what German democracy, what no democracy, American, German, or European will survive.
And he misspeaks right after. Oh, no.
Is telling millions of voters that their thoughts and concerns, their aspirations, their pleas for relief are invalid or unworthy of
It's not even invalid. It's illegal. You can't even have these opinions. You can't express them.
True. It's just like 1984, dog.
Being considered. Democracy rests on the sacred principle that the voice of the people matters.
Oh,
there's no room for firewalls. You either uphold the principle or you don't. Europeans, the people, have a voice. European leaders have a choice. And my strong belief is that we do not need to be afraid of the future. You can embrace what your people tell you, even when it's surprising, even when you don't agree. And if you do so, you can face the future with certainty and with confidence, knowing that the nation stands behind each of you. And that, to me, is the great magic of democracy. It's not in these stone buildings or beautiful hotels. It's not even in the great institutions that we have built together as a shared society. To believe in democracy is to understand that each of our citizens has wisdom and has a voice. And if we refuse to listen to that voice, even our most successful fights will secure very little. As Pope John Paul II.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, like, and if people can't even vote, they don't even let certain parties into the elections or into these like conventions or conferences.
That was a hugely different claim. They don't even let certain parties participate in elections versus invited to a conference. Those are hugely different things. AFD, the people that just got 22% of the fucking voter, how did they get the vote if they weren't allowed into the election?
Says, like, that's nuts, man. Jesus.
My view, one of the most extraordinary champions of democracy on this continent or any other once said, do not be afraid. We shouldn't be afraid of our people, even when they express views that disagree with their leadership. Thank you all. Good luck to all of you. God bless you.
Man.
Wow.
Holy shit. That is wild.
Wow.
Well, well-spoken bunch of bullshit. I don't think it's bullshit. I mean, what part of it is bullshit? I feel like it's pretty fucking accurate, I would say.
Never again. No more. Please. I can only handle so much. Asmongold.